Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Sit Down Sunday. Welcome back to the Omnic Incorporated and the Big Heart Radio Show. I'm here this morning to say good morning to my late night shifters, good night to my late night that's getting off, and good morning to the ones that are getting up and get started on your church services. Today, we're doing it a little different. I brought to you omnism so I could give you a full understanding of what omnism is and the benefits of omnism in a world where religion separates us at some cost, and at some point, religion can keep us torn apart. So, I wanted to share this morning on how I became an omnist, a believer of all the religions. So if you guys want to take a moment to go ahead and tune in, get yourself something to drink. I did go on a little earlier, but I didn't like the outcome of the video. So me, a patient, I'm more patient with the Most High than I am with anybody. And when I'm giving a clear message, I want to make sure that it's clear. Pardon me. And with that being said, I'm going to give you guys a few seconds to go ahead and tune on. Stay with me. Now, yes, good morning, and welcome. Yes. Thank you guys for allowing me to come back on and entertain you and gravitate towards your heart one more time. Yes, I was live this morning. I didn't like the outcome with the music playing in the background. Again, you know, I'm the talented and gifted owner and operator. So therefore, I get caught up in the amenities sometimes. But I want to let you guys know that I'm back and I want to make sure you get a fulfilled message. So, hello everybody, I'm back. Now, I'm going to take the time and share with you a moment of what I did share earlier. Earlier, I shared the advantages of being an omnism, not taken away from your religion, but bringing a more spiritual awakening to your life, as opposed to being centered around one particular religious set. So, no, again, I'm not here to stop your religion. I'm here to add to your spiritual that you can get a clear difference on religion and spirituality. Omnism, as an omnism is the spiritual development that I'm getting into. It's not necessarily a religion. So I'm going to come and share with you something out of my insert out of my book, that how I became an omnist, a believer of all religions. A religious, all religions are true in none in totality, and omnism included. Meaning, not even omnism. The fact that I chose omnism, being the belief in all religions, doesn't mean that it's all the answers neither. So it's a combination of inclusion, not exclusion. So what we're doing is I'm going to come on and I'm going to share with you this quick snippet. I was raised in a not very religious background, not very spiritual household. I was told that there was no truth in religion and that spirituality was a big hoax. You know, meaning, well, you prayed and this and that, and look what happened. You know, so the people were saying, not just not family, but people I had I lived, I shared about Saturday. When I meet people where they were at, they didn't have a lot of belief in God. They believed that the Most High had failed them in some areas. So I'm sharing with you my journey on how I became an omnist, how I took on the belief in most of all the religions or lack thereof with no judgment. So now I consider myself as a very spiritual person, someone who takes religion and spirituality very seriously. I often speak to God and pray. But how did I get here? My path was unconventional, and my beliefs are as well. I'm finding omnism was the most liberating and fulfilling discovery I had ever made in my own life. Now, as I said, my family taught me about God, but we weren't led to church every Sunday. So it wasn't like we were just taught God, God, God. But despite me growing up in a religious area, Mount Calvary and surrounded by the founding fathers of a lot of churches in our own community, this leads me to very theology or lack of to look down upon those foolish enough to fall for the scam that religion seems that it what religion seemed it was. However, there was one thing that I couldn't get over, and that was my peers. They seemed so happy and engulfed in their faith that I remember my best friend that would tell me how she would always feel safe knowing that the guardian angel was protecting her. Now, a power higher than oneself is not always religious. As an omnist, we believe a lot in spirituality. So I want to say the angel protecting you and your belief is a spiritual situation. And in omnism, we believe in that spirit. We believe in the spirit, not so much religiously, but we believe in it spiritually. So I'm going to continue to share. The easiest answer to the physiological question, that would be yes. That would be, did you know something didn't? There's things that would confuse me. Like, were these people blissful and ignorant that they decided that they weren't going to follow a different religion? No, they weren't blissful and arrogant. They were just knowledgeable and still seeking. So as they seek, then they realize that sometimes their faith was falling into a religious set that included people. Omnism gives you the more of a spirituality. When you walk up into the people, you can kind of get a better judgment of character. You start saying, yeah, they're judging me because of what I got on. They're judging me because of my past. They're thinking I'm still who I am. They're not taking on the recovery part, and they're definitely not accepting the changed version of me. So, omnism, as I entered into the world of activism, and I changed my tune from hatred to a religious respect, I became more educated on how faith can affect people, on why it is so important. But I was still confused as to why so many subscribed to the idea of a God that in my mind probably didn't exist. But how were they so sure that this creator existed? And then I started to learn of a historical sexism and homophobia within the same religions, which left me wondering how that could also be religious. How is that religious? Your opinion about someone's sexuality. It wasn't until I met some anonymous people and that I hadn't stepped in church in so long. The family were Christians. And one day they invited me to come to their service. And apprehensively, I agreed, but I kept on with an open mind. And while nervously filing into the wooden pews, I was to my surprise that everyone seemed very friendly and open minded. And I honestly felt like I could be the service. So, in fact, after the service, I felt enlightened. I had declared myself a Muslim at one point, and then that very day, I started saying, hey, you know what? I might want to be a Christian. And then I started going to that church every Sunday. And then I read the Bible, and I finally understood what it meant to let religion into your life. And then I felt like a missing piece had been added to my soul and whatever. And whenever I faced trouble, I could turn to God and led me down to the right path. It wasn't until I started to read certain parts of the Bible and then I had doubts. I remember one thing that stuck with me, and that was the idea of the non believers that went to hell. Even